Hi guys, One's here again. On the third part of today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Eastern Conference Finals result between the Pacers and the Knicks. This was a very interesting game. This was my favorite one of the conference finals because it was very competitive. I picked the Knicks to win in 6 or 7. I jinxed them again. Pacers actually won in 6 games, which I was delighted with because I like the way the Pacers play. High intensity, they play up and down really quick. They have high ball pressure at the very start, at literally the very start of the game. You can see it in last night's game between Pacers and Knicks in Game 6. Knicks came out with a better intensity. It took a couple of minutes for the Pacers to actually get into the game. However, once they got into the game, it was just straightforward from there on. It was a back and forth game, to be honest with you. I felt like the Knicks make too many mistakes, too many silly mistakes, too many common mistakes. You can't make those mistakes if you're going to win a championship. For example, their transition defense was very poor. They don't get back on defense quick enough. Mitchell Robinson was very good on the offensive glass, but they couldn't score enough points from the offensive. When they get the offensive rebound, they couldn't put up enough points from that. However, when the Pacers got into the game, you saw Pascal Siakam. He won the conference finals MVP, which I think was deserving. However, it was close between him and Haliburton, but I felt Pascal Siakam deserved it over the sixth game. I felt he had a better game in general in the 6 games than Haliburton. I know Haliburton had a great game 1, and I think he had a great game 2 as well. But I think no, Siakam had a great game 2. Game 3, Knicks won. Game 4. I think Pacers won. I think Game 5, the Knicks won as well. And then I got confused there. However, like I was saying, Pacers eventually won in 6 games. I know the Knicks stole a game from Pacers on their home court. However, I thought, like I always say, once you go 3-1 down in the NBA playoff series, is a dead sentence. You rarely ever see anyone come back from that because you have to win 3 games in a row to actually advance in that situation. Siakam was fantastic. I felt he also slowed down Karl Anthony Towns offensively in Game 6, which was a big part because Karl Anthony Towns, when he got going offensively in Game 5, they completely blew Pacers out of the game. So Siakam had a job defensively to do, and he also put up 30 points as well, which I think it was a deserving Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Also, just touch on Haliburton, fantastic player. The way he initiates offense is brilliant. He's just so good. It's a pleasure to watch, and the pace he plays at is fantastic. He doesn't necessarily go out of his way looking for points. He actually goes out of his way making his teammates better, making his teammates better, initiating offense. That's what I love about Haliburton the most. And also, I would also say the Pacers coach was coaching his ass off during the whole playoff. He trusts his team. He was going 8, 9, sometimes even 10 deep on the bench, which was crazy, especially in the playoff game. We rarely ever see that happening. Like last night game, you saw Thomas Bryant, who lost his minutes earlier on in the series, came on. I think in the third quarter, and it was a huge momentum swing. He made 3 threes, and that basically killed the game, and he completely swung the momentum towards the Pacers. And I believe when he made those 3 threes, I believe the Pacers believed that was their night. Last night was their night, and they had to close the game out at home. It was good they closed the game out at home because you don't want to go to a Game 7 in New York, because I felt New York would have been favorites to win that. Also, just a quick just touch on their role players for the Pacers. Like I said, the coach believes in his players. However, I would say Andrew Nembhard, he was absolutely fantastic in the Game 6. Just simply because he knew he wasn't going. Andrew Nembhard was fantastic in Game 6 because he knew he didn't have it going offensively. So he basically guarded Jalen Brunson, and he was a pest defensively to Jalen Brunson the whole game. And you can tell Jalen Brunson was getting defensive. It was getting frustrated. At one stage, he kind of headbutted him, but I don't think the ref caught it. I felt there should have been a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2 on that play. So salute to Andrew Nembhard. He was fantastic defensively on Jalen Brunson, and Brunson only ended up with 19 points, which obviously not good enough in a do-or-die game if you're the superstar of the team. Also, what I would also say is after Thomas Bryant made those 3 I believe the game was over. I couldn't see a way back for the Knicks. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to make another video just to touch up on what the Knicks need to do in the offseason, because I don't believe Karl Anthony Towns, you can't have Karl Anthony Towns your second best player, because in high intensity games, I feel Karl Anthony Towns doesn't do enough. He doesn't have a high enough motor engine to be able to handle those high intensity playoff games when it's do or die. I believe his energy completely dies. Like last night, I know he put up 24 points, but those points didn't make a difference. Defensively, he was atrocious. He couldn't. Karl Anthony Towns can't guard. Defensively, he was atrocious. Karl Anthony Towns can't guard a parked car. He was absolutely atrocious last night defensively. He can be your second best player if you want to win a championship. I think the Knicks, like I said in my previous video about Timberwolves, Knicks need to call Milwaukee Bucks. Look, you can take whatever you want to take apart from Brunson and give us Giannis. Because if you get Giannis, that takes you over the top. Giannis and Brunson will be amazing. Those two, I think, will work well off each other. And that would literally close the gap on, let's say, the Celtics, for example. And you can see the Knicks actually competing to win a championship and take them to the promised land, basically. That's all for today. I will come back maybe on a Tuesday. I'll come back on Tuesday or Wednesday to make my prediction video for the NBA Finals, and I'm gonna watch a couple of films in terms of OKC and Pacers. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna break down on where I think the Pacers could be successful against the OKC, and where I think OKC could be successful against the Pacers. As always, if you have a question, leave it in the comments for me. I'll always get back to you. If you enjoy my content, make sure to click on the subscribe button. Thank you very much.